You know, I'm making this video a little early because the library is so nice and quiet right now. And when I upload these videos, I got to edit. It's a lot of work to get the video to you, which I love doing. I love doing this. But you got to concentrate. You got to think, because you got to do a lot of editing to this. I got to do a lot of editing to this video before I show it to you. And so I'm making the video a little early. Now I know, that old saying, talk is cheap. Talk is very cheap. Talk is very, very cheap. Since my cousin Jerre has joined watching my videos, and she lives in a real isolated area. I won't give where she lives, but her mom, my aunt, one time said she worries about her because she lives alone. She lives out in the wilderness. That's the way I like to live. Real quiet, a good place to make videos. But since she's got the word of mouth, I know everybody in the family, cousins, aunts, uncles. Since I'm making these family stories, everybody's watching me now. Hello to Verona, Kentucky. Hello to McCreary County, Kentucky. Hello to Tennessee. My cousin Cliff, I think he's still in Alabama. He was going to move to Georgia. I think he's still in Alabama. Hello to Cliff. Hello to you, buddy, cousin. My Facebook family in Florida. Hello to you. And of course, all of Claremont County up here in Ohio, the entire fire department, police department, 85–90% of the cars that goes by me when I'm on that bike yell, "Yeah, we love your videos." So I've got a mass audience. So I'm going to try to tell these family stories as accurate as possible. And if I mess up here, I want my family to send me a letter, inbox me, email me, let me know if I mess up the story. Because a lot of it's what I witnessed as a kid in the 70s, or heard from the family. I may not be real accurate. I'll try to be as accurate as possible. So to my family, if I mess up, let me know, and I'll be happy to redo the video to tell it more accurate, the story. Here we go. My first taste of chewing tobacco. Whew, man, I was about 12 or 13 years old. Probably about 1975. Now, my grandpa had a pronto tone to his voice. He had a demanding tone. When he told you, come here, he meant it. He always thought I was in trouble. Every time he always, I was thinking, laying in bed last night trying to remember, did he call me? He didn't call me by my, he didn't say Greg. I think he called me Greggy. Of course, my middle name is Lee. I love my middle name. I really do. But I always have people call me Greg because that's out of respect to my dad. And I was named after, I think, a second cousin. I was named out here on State Route 48. Anyway, but my grandpa always called me Greggy, I believe. I was trying to remember. I'm trying to think back 40 years, which is almost impossible. What he used to call me? I think it was Greggy. Anyway, when he'd call me, it was he had a pronto, demanding voice to him. I always got a little nervous when he called me because I always thought I was in some sort of trouble. But not this time. He said, "Come here." I'm trying to mock my grandpa, Redden. "Yeah, come here. They want to give you a chew of tobacco." I forget the kind he chewed. Anyway, he pulls out his pocket knife that he's had on him 50 years, and he cuts a big hunk of tobacco. "Stick this in your mouth." And I think we was going to the Verona market in Verona, Kentucky, up the road 5 miles from him. And all of his grandkids, 5 or 6 of his grandkids, we got in the back of his old pickup truck, and we standing up. He wasn't driving that fast. It was going down the road, and my saliva gland started kicking in. And I swallowed a little bit of that tobacco. I started getting sick. So in a little bit I sat down in the back of that truck, and my Uncle Roger was with us. My grandpa looks at my Uncle Roger, says, "Oh, Greggy's turning green." Well, I get back up, trying to psychologically fight it off. Get back up. In a little bit the truck stops. Grandpa stops the truck. He gets out of the truck. Is it okay, you I think we may have been getting on the main road or something. But anyway, he says, "You grandkids," he said, you sit down in this truck. He said, that especially goes for you, Greggy. He says, you're too wobbly back here. I was getting sick on that tobacco. Oh, man, and 40 years later, I can almost still taste that going down my throat. I don't know what my grandpa, I forget the brand he chewed. I don't know what my grandpa seen in that tobacco. Oh, it was horrible. Oh, I was sick for 2 days. I went to school the next morning. That was on a Sunday. I went to school the next morning gagging on it because I was still belching it. I must, swallow the juice from the tobacco. I swallowed it. My grandpa warned me, don't swallow. But then it goes, I tell you what, you haven't ate a supper till you ate my grandma Redden's supper. God, they passed away in 1980 car accident. God, I miss them. Grandpa always bought the best. His stove, cooking stove, had these wide burners on them. Yeah, he didn't mess around with junk. He bought the best. And oh my God, her business. I shouldn't say this because I'm gonna make myself hungry. Her homemade, and she had poor grandma. She had bad arthritis. I don't see how in the world she whipped up a meal so fast. I guess, having 7, 8 kids, you learn to. But anyway, the homemade mashed. I'll tell you what, the fried eggs. I've never ate fried eggs better than what my grandma could fry. Potato wedges. Oh my God. You haven't ate cooking until you ate my grandma Redden's cooking. She should have got a patent on it. I mean, oh my God, you ate like a king. I never forget my dad getting cussed out. Dad worked for S&V contractors. One of them died. They built houses, and Dad was the foreman boss. Anyway, the concrete truck was coming the next day, so we was leaving a little early. Cause if any guys know, when you work with concrete, you got to stay with it all day. So Dad had to get up early to go to work to get ready for the concrete cement truck. And Grandpa was in the garage. We was in the house talking to everybody, and Grandpa was in the garage. And we walked past the garage. Dad looks at his dad, Grandpa, and says, "Dad, we're going." He goes, and Grandpa always called Grandma Mom. My grandpa always called his wife, my grandma, Mom. He goes, he always grunted, a little nervous grunt. Big mouth, loud mouth. "What does Ma have in there?" And Dad slipped up and, "I don't know. We ain't staying to eat. I got to get up early. Concrete guy's coming." My grandpa exploded. I never forget this. He's screaming, "You get in there and eat." My grandpa was an orphan. He starved to death. His mom and dad died when he was an infant, so he was orphaned. We're talking about, there was no laws. We're talking about the 1920 or before. We're talking about the late 1918, 1920. There was no laws. You was orphan, you worked from daylight to dark. I remember him telling me that. He hated hunger. He had a hard orphan. He knew what hunger was all about. But he cussed Dad out so bad. He said, "You get in there and you eat." Oh, I'll never forget his voice echoing through my ear. Oh, he could cuss. He made us eat. We went in there and ate. I'll never forget that. If I lived to be 150, Dad, I guess, just wasn't thinking. And Grandpa asked, "What does Ma have in there for supper?" "Well, we don't know. We got." He said, "I don't know." He said, I gotta get, I gotta get up early, and the cement trucks guy's coming, and you got to be with cement all day. That didn't stop Grandpa. Oh, he cussed. He didn't want to see nobody going home without eating. That's just the way he was, man. I mean, to not eat around my grandpa and grandma's place, you committed a crime. And I know how to, now this is hearsay. One time somebody broke down, or claimed to be broke down, and I don't know, I guess maybe they looked skinny to my grandpa or whatever, and the story goes, my grandpa got his pistol out. Story, I don't know how, like I said, my family's watching, so inbox me if I'm not accurate on this. I'll try to tell as accurate as possible. Anyway, he held a gun on this guy and he says, "Ma, I just fixed some supper." He says, "You going to eat?" I guess the guy, I don't know, must have looked skinny. He said, "After you eat, you can call someone to come and get you or whatever." And he made, apparently at gunpoint with a .22 pistol, he made this guy, perfect stranger, eat for an hour. Yeah, I guess the guy looked hungry. I don't know. That's the story I heard. And then after an hour was up, the guy was so full. I guess maybe it's Grandpa's way of telling the perfect stranger, "Don't come back here. I'll feed you. I'll fill you full." But I don't. It's something about the guy he didn't trust. I think that's what it mounted to. But you know, Grandpa would feed the devil. Anyway, about an hour was going by, and the guy was getting full. Grandma started telling Grandpa, lulling Grandpa's name, "Don't hold that. He's full." And Grandpa started laughing. No, he's going to keep eating. And the guy kept for an hour feeding himself. Well, after an hour was up or so, Grandma had some lunch bags for him. So she gave him some lunch bags. Perfect stranger gave him some lunch bags. Then Grandpa let him use the phone to call for help. Even, you know, by himself, Grandpa, something about him Grandpa didn't trust. Anyway, the guy went on his way, and they never did see him again. Yeah, made this guy eat for an hour. I guess he just didn't trust him. I guess that was the way to tell the guy, you come back here again, you're gonna eat for 2 hours at gunpoint. But that's that's the story I heard. And knowing my grandpa, it was true.